What is the unborn? To answer the question, I'm going to go to the only place you should go, and that is the science of embryology. It says in a sentence, from the earliest stages of development, each of us was a distinct, living, and whole human being.
Conception, or fertilization, is the moment when the woman's egg is fertilized by the sperm, bringing into existence the zygote, which is a genetically distinct individual. When a sperm and ovum meet, the DNA of mother and father combine to form a unique human being. Gender, eye color, height, shoe size, everything that we eventually become starts at that moment.
The pro-life case involves asking people the question, do you believe in human rights? Inevitably, people will respond, yes. So then I'll often point to a picture of a one-celled embryo after fertilization and say, what about that human's rights? And often people say, well, that's not a human. At which point I like to ask, what are the embryo's parents? Beings which reproduce sexually begin their lives at fertilization. And in fact, if we aren't talking about human beings, this is a widely accepted principle. Consider for a moment someone who breeds horses or breeds dogs. You don't ever hear such a scientist or a veterinarian say, I just don't know when a dog becomes a dog, or I just don't know when a horse becomes a horse. There's consensus that because those beings reproduce sexually, they begin their lives at fertilization. So if we have such clarity for other species, why do we claim confusion with our own? Or let's look at our own species in particular. Let's take in vitro fertilization. Does an IVF specialist who's in the business of making life, does an IVF specialist ever say, I just don't know when life begins? No, of course not. They know exactly when life begins. It's the moment they're trying to replicate in the lab, the moment of a sperm fertilizing an egg. We actually do know that life begins at fertilization. Now, sometimes what happens is people will refer to the preborn child as just an embryo or fetus as though the child isn't fully human. But consider for a moment when a human fetus is born, what we call that fetus, a baby. And what do we call the baby when the child turns 2? A toddler. And what do we call the toddler when the toddler turns 13? A teenager. And what do we call the teenager when she turns 21? An adult. These are words to refer to age ranges within our species. They tell us how old something is, not what something is. And so we have to ask ourselves this. Do those of us who are older have a right to kill those who are younger?
The causes of the growth of man from the human egg are as yet unknown. Biological research in the university will be devoted to such causal analysis.
I get it that some people look at an image of an early embryo that isn't even visible with the naked eye. You gotta have a microscope. And they think to themselves, that just doesn't look like one of us. I get it. But sometimes our intuitions are wrong. And I think I have an example that will help us here. Imagine it's 1970 and you have a Polaroid camera. A Polaroid camera has an advantage. You shoot the picture, it spits out the paper, you wait about 2 minutes, and the image comes to life right before your eyes. I want you to imagine you're on a Mexican safari. You have a Polaroid camera, and you shoot a picture of a black jaguar leaping across the trail in front of us. You caught that jaguar in midair. Perfect timing. And while you're breathlessly waiting for that picture to emerge, I come up behind you, I yank the camera out of your hands, I yank the paper out of it, and I tear it up. Will you be angry at me? Yeah, you'll be furious. You would look at me with eyes blazing and you would say, what are you doing? Suppose I replied, what's the big deal? There's no jaguar there. That's just a white paper with a brown smudge on it. Would that satisfy you? Not in a million years. You would say, are you crazy? The jaguar in the picture was already there. We just couldn't see him yet because he was still developing. From the one-cell stage, you were already there. We just couldn't see you because you were still developing. That's the science of embryology. Science, of course, can't tell us how to treat the unborn. If we want to know how to treat the unborn, we have to ask a philosophical question. It's not complex at all. Does each and every human being have an equal right to life, or do only some have it?